Wait for her.
This meeting is being recorded.
Awesome. Hey, y'all, thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate you. Tonight, we are going to paint this really large call sign. So super fun, but don't let the size scare you. We're just going to go into acrylic tips and tricks. We're not going to be able to finish the whole board tonight, but we're going to get all of the details and you'll feel really confident to go ahead and finish it. And if you're just watching along, you're definitely not going to finish the board tonight, but you'll learn everything you need to know for when you are ready to do it yourself. All right, very exciting. So, and then the benefit of this being a live class is that you can ask me questions. So I may answer the questions you have as we're going along, but feel free to put them in the chat, and at the end of the class, I'll go through them all, and we'll make sure everybody feels good. So, all right, let's go into our materials, what we're using today. So, oh, you know what? Actually, quickly, before we go into materials, I'm going to share something real quick about our prep. Okay. Acrylic paint. So do as I say, not as I do, but I'm playing a little fast and loose to make sure you all can see what I'm doing. But for acrylic paint, can you see my screen, Carrie?
Yes.
Yay, okay. We always cover our surfaces. Acrylic paint is kind of a pain to get off, and it will get on your clothes. It'll stay on your clothes and it's gonna be annoying. But if you get it on your countertop or something, you can let it dry and kind of scrape it off, or if it's still wet, get a wet paper towel and some dish soap and you can kind of get in there and swipe it off and that'll be fine. But that's just something that we always want to be careful of, is because acrylic paint dries really fast. So get you some paint and clothes, wear something that you're okay if it gets something on, you know. I've got definitely a token pair of jeans that's mostly paint by now. And this one we're keeping small and contained, but we're not going to do the edges on purpose so we don't get paint everywhere. Okay, great talk. For our materials. Okay, we're using a bunch of different paints. We're using this DecoArt little outdoor guy in this spooky gray, this awesome color shift stuff. These are all acrylic paints. And this is the stuff we use to make Ghost shiny. A nice purple outdoor, deep violet. And gesso. Gesso is amazing, and beginners may not know what it is. It's white, but it's a really highly pigmented white, and it is a primer. So since we're going to be putting down a whole gray wash for our background, and then we're going to put all our elements on top, we're going to use gesso as our base. So it's going to make these letters and these ghosts more opaque, so we don't see through the gray beneath them, and it's just a stronger white. So it's a bigger bottle, but it's much more pigmented than your average one of the white, and you can use it to prime stuff, because you know this wood will take the paint, but you may end up working with stuff that won't, like a canvas, right? You've got to put something underneath your canvas if you're going to paint with acrylic. So that's what gesso is. Wanted to introduce that. A pencil, hooray. And you all saw on the class list that there are some, just out of my reach, things that I drew and scanned in. So all our letters, all our tiny ghosties, you can print them out and we will transfer them onto our board. But for that magic to happen, we need the magic of tracing paper. So we need pencil, tracing paper, and then our brushes. So we've got a big chunky 3-inch flat here, and then we've got a couple little flats, a tiny round, and a nice little filbert, and they're all listed on the class list online. Something to put your paint on. This is just a white melamine palette. The one I linked is different. I've had this one for years and it's great. But yeah, I always recommend, this is something I use for watercolor too, so I like it to have a lip. All right, let's get this big chonker out of here and start painting. The only thing you'll also need when you're doing this is access to a sink and some mild soap and water, and that's to wash your brushes. So it's gonna hurt me greatly to not go off screen and wash my brushes when we're painting together, but I'm dumping them in the soapy water in the interim. So don't murder your tools. As soon as you're done, once we're done doing that gray wash and you're done, go wash your brush with soap and water, and we'll talk about that more. But right now, let's do our gray wash. So giving it a good shake. Since I want a nice wash, I put enough paint that's about the width of my brush. Not putting too much on. There's that. So acrylic dries quickly, so I always like to put less paint on my palette because I can always put more. But it's a shame when you finish your project and you have a hunk of dried acrylic that you can't really do much with. So it's just right by me, easy to put more back on my palette as I need it. So I really don't have a lot of paint on my brush. This is a dry brush. So we want a nice mix. We want this, spooky appeal that we have on that first one. So it's not fully covered, just a nice vertical warm wash. So I'm not going to paint the whole board because I want to make sure we get to all our different techniques and we're restricted within an hour. But as you can see, I just keep putting my paint out on my palette, not being precious with my brush strokes and just keeping them relatively vertical. So we'll probably do about half the board together. We love that dry brush technique, right? Where you see the bristles here. And then we'll go back down. You can take a pair of pliers and remove this hook. I decided to keep it on. It came with it. I think it's more versatile if you have it. But if you don't want to have to go around this hook, don't worry about it. You can take it off. No big deal. Just do what suits where you're going to place it. You don't have to shake all acrylic paints, but these brands are more value brands, so they are a little thinner, and I just like to make sure they're nice and mixed. If you're doing with something like a heavy body acrylic, it's really almost a solid, so you won't have to shake it. But for these, I think it's just a good idea to make sure our pigment is where we want it to be. And again, for sake of time, we're not going to do everything, but when you do your edges, I did do my edges. I did the same technique, right? I just took my brush. I wasn't precious about it, but I did just give it some of that gray. And so it's kind of just got that same treatment all on the edges as we do in the tops and sides as we do on the front. What I have underneath me is parchment paper. Not wax paper. Wax leaves a residue. But this is something so long and skinny. When I did my example board, I had a whole run of it. I didn't waste too much paper, but it did, catch me from getting paint off my counter. You can use scrap paper. You can use a trash bag that you reuse. It just depends, use something you already have, and then you can reuse it a lot of times, depending on how painty it gets. I'll do one in a row here, and that feels like a nice amount of coverage. Right, so it's not, this brush is really not, doesn't have a lot of paint on it. That's how we get those bristle marks. And if you are hesitant to just go straight onto your board, you can use the back of your board because it's the same material. It's just a big hunk of plywood. So you can test your brush strokes out and see, okay, do I have too much paint? Do I not have enough? Not enough is easy. You can just go and grab more. But yeah, test it out. See what I'm getting into here. All right, fun. Okay, so I think this is a nice amount of coverage. We've got that gray spookiness, but we can see that it's wood underneath. We've got some nice fun brush strokes. And of course you would do the same thing just down the edge of down the length of the board. Okay, this part hurts. I'm not gonna be able to run to my sink and wash this brush off. As we know, acrylic dries quickly. So what I would do and what you will do is go to your sink and get soap and water and run with your bristles down, run the water down, get some, I use just natural dish soap, natural unscented hippie store dish soap. And I'm just gently rubbing the bristles here, getting the soap off. You can't see that. Rubbing the bristles. And I'm gonna let this soak, which is gonna hurt me, but you're gonna meet your sink. And that's it. It's really easy to clean it. It's super easy to clean acrylic when it's wet. It really doesn't take a lot of force or fuss. And then I would just, soap and water. I'm just kind of wiggling the bristles together. I'm not going too hard. We don't want them to get crazy directions. And then when you rinse it, have the water go down. And then when you dry it, have the bristles pointing down. We don't want paint to get up into the edge of our brush. You can't get it out and it'll change the way your bristles move. And then we absolutely don't want acrylic paint to dry in our brush. It doesn't ruin it, but it's going to take hours of soaking and cleaning and crying to get it back to what it was. So always take care of your brushes. And then for this, while it's still wet, you literally can get a bit of wet paper towel, wipe off most of that paint, and throw it in your garbage can so it doesn't go down the drain. We don't need extra paint in our water. And then I just take another damp paper towel with a little bit of dish soap, scrub, 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 rinse it, and you'll have a clean palette again. So I will dry my hands, and then once your paint dries, like what's going to happen to me, same thing, wet paper towel, get what you can off with and the little dish soap, and then you'll be fine. Yeah. Okay. While this dries, we're going to apply all our fun spookity things. So y'all have these printouts. These are the ones I traced, but attached to the class or the PDFs, and all you have to do is print them out. The little ghosts. We'll take a ghost. We'll take an S. I guess we'll start at the top. And you print it out, and we're going to take our tracing paper and we're going to trace it. So all we're going to do is use the lead, by tracing the letter, we're going to use the lead and then put it onto our wood surface, and we'll trace it on the other side, and we will have the shape we want. So if I just quickly do this, flip it over, and we get that same shape on the other side. So that's what we're doing. We'll do it with a ghost. Take your tracing paper, pick a ghost you like, and then just trace the outline with a pencil. This has ink coming on the other side because I've used this before on both sides. It's got ink on both of them. It's looking pretty dry. Acrylic paint is shiny when it's wet, but matte when it's dry. So it looks okay. It really does dry fast. I would trace everything before you go onto your piece. And so now we trace this little button. I think this would be fun to put in here. So we're going to do the placement, kind of matching what I did this time in doing our wavy ghost. That's where I go. Okay. So now I'm just gonna push it, place it down, kind of hold it taut. Definitely dry. And retrace those lines that we traced on the other side, but now we're letting the ink, we're putting the lead onto the surface. So we can use this to trace anything we draw, which is exactly what I did. And then I just scanned it in for y'all. So you have the PDF, but the same thing applies, right? You're just going to take your, in your case, blank trace, a piece of tracing paper, trace your ghosty or your letter, and flip it over, and you'll have ink or lead. I just keep calling it ink today. It's Inktober. It's Sparktober. So I'm going over this kind of heavy because I want y'all to see the outline. But when it's yours, you can really be a lot more delicate. But now we've got our little ghost outline that we can fill in and paint. So we're going to fill in paint, and then we'll put the face back on. So we're just going to put this aside. And when I did this, I drew all my letters, and then I tore them away from each other so I could place them. And before I started really doing the whole word, I just laid out I only did one O because it's the same letter. I just laid out everything to make sure I liked it before I transferred it down. And that included the letters. I got that because those are the biggest pieces. And then once I had traced down all the letters, then I added in our fun accent ghosts and went through. There is an ish. If you want your board to be spooky or spooky-ish, obviously optional, but do what you please. And then for this, I do just recommend leaving about, let's see, 8 inches at the bottom, because for most people, you'll be hanging or placing this on the ground in front of your porch, and things just get so dirty. And we don't want people to have to look all the way down the ground. I just left a good amount of space at the bottom. But if you know yours is only going to be hung, you can space it out so you have this space, or you could put some more ghosts at the bottom. That could be cute. So just thinking about where this is going, and if you know, anything you need to be mindful of for placement. We're going to make what we did here. So we've got our S. We're going to flip it over because we want the lead. This is easy to tell because we don't want a backwards S. I'm going to flip it over, trace the back. So if there's something you want and you draw it or you're printed out and it's something like letters that you can't just flip the direction willy-nilly or else it won't make sense, you can just trace lead on both sides, and you can apply it to your piece. You may just have to use another piece of tracing paper. And just run in pencil over this outline. And we make our projects in advance for y'all, so I honestly can't remember if I reverse the PDF letters so they're already reversed for you, or if I kept them in the same orientation so you could learn how to trace and then trace things again. So we'll talk through both. So if all your letters are backwards, then it'll look like this. You're just going to trace that, flip it, trace it, voila. But if they come out printed in this direction, that's totally fine. All you're going to do, let's make a tiny S. My S came out in this direction. All I'm going to do, but if I trace it, obviously it would be backwards. I'll take another sheet of trace. I'll trace that. Then I'll trace it on the back. You also can flip it this way. So now we've got it where I can put it. I'm not going to put this on the board, but now we have lead on the right side. And so when I trace it again, the lead comes off. You get the idea. So whatever orientation the thing you draw, the thing you print comes out, you can get it onto your surface. Anyway. Lovely. Have it nice and jaunty. And I'm just pressing down and tracing. I'm really pushing heavy. I'm doing really choppy marks just because I want to make sure y'all can see the lead. But when you're doing this yourself at home, you don't need to do this hard. You can really just have a nice seamless line. And then I just like to check before I lift it up that everything went down. Pencil on wood makes such a satisfying sound. Another advantage of not doing what I'm doing and tracing more lightly, if you decide you really don't like where you place this, you can erase it gently and it won't pick up your acrylic. But just be gentle if you do have to erase, and it's better to erase less lead than more. You might need to see what I'm doing. Looks good. Okay, amazing. So y'all are going to do the same thing and just try to grab the letters, trace your letters, arrange them, have them where you like them. And I just went through and traced. And then once I had everything and once I had everything traced, then it was time to get painting. All right, I'm going to grab my palette again. And this time our gesso primer, our thick with 2 C's white. So this violet is pretty translucent, so we definitely had to put a white down. And our ghosty, this color shift is awesome, but it's pretty translucent as well. So we wanted to make sure our brush lines didn't show through, and our letters were really strong because, most of the time we really want our signs to be seen and read easily. And I like a translucent ghost, but we're taking the time to make them ourselves, so I wanted them to be seen. So we're gonna put some white behind. Okay. I'm looking at my notes. Looks like I did a 12 flat for the letters. You can use whatever you want. If you have a different size, that's totally fine. But I did a flat for my edges. You know what? Let's make sure. And I haven't forgotten about the bats. They're coming. Okay, but I used a flat because you can get really close to your edge. And it's great for just filling in, which is exactly what we're doing. We're filling the whole letter in with our white gesso. Only do this when you know your paint is dry, but when you're not. We traced on it and we checked and it wasn't showing. So you can still do curves with a flat, use whatever brush you like. There's also a Filbert that we're going to use later. Again, if you are hesitant to go right onto your panel, remember that you have a wood panel on the back of this that no one will see. So use that as your practice board. So these, the ones recommended are outdoor paints, except for, actually, I believe the color shift is indoor, outdoor. Yeah, she is. Okay. I wanted to make sure. So these paints are acrylic for outdoor. That being said, no one is stronger than the sun. So, they may fade after a while, but if they're going to be covered on your porch, they should be fine. They are made for the outdoor. And of course, if you keep them indoor, they will like that. Oop, hair in the way. I had a thick row of paint along this edge, so I just took my flat and pulled it away. This is something I like to do whether I'm drawing or painting. Set my hair here for a second. is turn my work surface. Now I've got brush out of my hand. Now I've got these angles right towards me, you know. You'll have a dominant hand, so make your surface come to you. This doesn't have to be a perfect layer. We just want it to be opaque. We just want to cover it so our violet really shows up. If you don't care for violet, I think just a classic black would be a great choice for all our spooky letters to fill it in with after our gesso. I still would do a gesso because you really want it to be legible, right? This is signage, and most of the time we want our signage to be red. So we look for high contrast. So keeping things very dark. This dark violet, a navy could be interesting. Black, classic. Maybe even a burgundy, but a truly, truly dark one because you want your letters to be read from far away, perhaps the street. I wouldn't do an orange. They're going to just be too similar in value, and they just won't be red. Hopefully you find this process really soothing when you're just filling in the letters here. I enjoy it. Another thing to be mindful of is that this is just a craft for fun for you. So it doesn't have to be quote unquote perfect. As long as you're trying something new, you're learning something, having fun, you're using your hands, love that. So you're doing great. And acrylic, you know, if you do something you absolutely don't care for, it'll dry and you can cover it up with something else you like. You just destroyed the nice curve I had. Okay, I'll fix it. That looks like an S to me. Opaque, filled in, going to dry quickly. Love it. Let's fill in our ghost. But this has a smaller detail, but since I already have a brush wet with gesso, what you're going to do is keep going since you've already traced all your letters down this board. Keep filling them in. And then once you're ready, add in your ghosts. And that's something fun where you get to kind of play and decide where you put them. You can go with the photo I had. You can do whatever you want, right? This is your craft. Have fun. So, but since I already have a brush wet with gesso, which is what we're filling in our ghost, at least I'm going to mass out and then we'll get our detail brush. This body's going to soak. But for y'all, they're getting washed. Save instant impressions. Use a Filbert curved. It's a number 8. It's small. You can use whatever you want. Filberts are great too. I could have easily used a Filbert for these sweet, sweet curves. Play around, figure out what you like. Let's see our ghost outline. We're going to do the same thing, just fill it in. Flip it around again so the curve is closer to me on the side I like to paint on. An opaque little ghost. Washing my brush, and in my face just soaping it. And you would do the same thing, right? So we take everything we traced, all our ghosties, all our letters, do a nice layer of gesso so it's nice and opaque, and we'll take our color. With my little faux clean here, gonna dry my brush off with paper towel. So we can tell our letter here is still wet. How can we tell it's shiny? So if we look the way the light is reflecting, it's still shiny. This is actually drying quicker, but it's still shiny. So we'll grab our brushes. You know what? Let's do our ghost color shift first. Okay, this stuff is super fun. It's just another layer of acrylic, and that's going to give us the shiny, shiny ghosty look. And then we'll put the faces. So these shiny, shiny ghosties, we did about 2 coats, but I did it at the same time. And you'll see when you're working with it, it may be hard to show on Zoom, but it's basically the same thing. We just want, you know, a nice even covering of our shiny, shiny, really shimmery layer. So I'm gonna use the same brush I just used. A nice shape. Just so pretty, really pearlescent. And even just talking, this is still a little tacky, right? It came up. So a little, just a touch, let it dry. And I will share my screen. The other. I saw a crime. And so I have to share it. This was an actual crime scene I saw. I was walking my dog, getting ready to make these slides for my acrylic classes, and I saw this poor tortured brush. It literally was some kind of paint or acrylic, and it was just dried up so hard. And that's what happens, unfortunately. It really just dry and destroys your tools. So don't murder innocent brushes. Wash them as soon as you can. It's important. That goes for acrylic, that goes for oil. Oils of cleaning is a whole different course and class, but same with watercolor. As soon as you're done with them, go get them washed, go get them drying. Okay, so I've just been fanning while we're hanging out. But in reality, when you're done with doing all your coats, or filling in all your letters and ghosts, excuse me, you'll be washing your brush. By the time you come back, eat a snack, get some water. It really doesn't take too long for this to dry. Okay. And I'm filling the whole ghost with a nice layer of this fabulous shimmer. It may be hard to read on Zoom, and when we're done, I'll flip and show it. But the way it reflects light is really fun, and it shows up really well at nighttime. It just gives it another layer of interest, right? When things have different ways that they reflect and refract light, that's visually interesting. So we've got these things that are matte, our background that's matte, our letters are a little satin, and then our ghosts are quite have a shimmer, and the way they reflect light is different as well. So it gives us interest visually. There's a lot of ways to do that, and our surface coatings are just one of those tools. Or surface finishes, excuse me, are one of those tools. I did one fairly thick layer, more like two. But that looks, it's all got the same level of shine. Maybe hard to tell on Zoom, but in real life, you gotta love it. Okay. Fake wash my brush. Try not to cry. Just kidding. So do that with all your ghosts. Once you have all those done, again, same thing, let them dry. We'll fill in our letters with our violet layers. So again, you can use black to cover up your letters with. You can use this violet. I really think it's fun. It's just a lovely shade of violet, and I wanted something off the shelf that we didn't have to color mix because we were covering so much surface with our letters. This is a big sign, so it's nice to find just a lovely spooky shade. Right, we're going back with the Filbert. You can use the flat, you can use whatever you want, just maybe not your fingers. Open the paint. I feel like dry sometimes. It's got the schmutz. That's fine, just peel it off. So this is a beautiful color, but it is a little translucent. So that's why we put this gesso down. And this violet, depending on how dark you want, will take 2 or 3 coats. Doesn't take long for acrylic to dry, but it does take time. So just factor that in. And again, you can tell when it stops being shiny. And of course, by giving it a tap if it's looking safe. Since we're going for opacity, since I'm not being super mindful of my brush strokes, it doesn't matter. So just covering. This is about the time where I would turn. You also, since you'll have all your letters at one time, you can do whatever you want. You can just keep scooting the board and painting in your letters here and then turning them all when you're done the other side. You can turn and finish each letter as you go. Whatever works for you, there's no rules. You're just filling in this letter with about 2 to 3 coats. So it's nice and opaque. And we're just using the same brushes we did to fill it in with the gesso. And then clean up these edges. Okay, but being mindful of time, I'm gonna throw this brush in the soapy water. We're gonna quickly put some face on the ghosts. So the same technique that we did, we are going to, again, just take our pencil, trace whatever face we want, put it down on top of our paint. Now, our ghost isn't dry yet, but it's the same thing. All we're gonna do now, the acrylic will totally take pencil again, that's dried. Trace your face, and then all I did was, oh, my black's not out. I have a black listed in the materials. Take your nice pointy brush, just a teeny bit of your paint, and fill in your face with the black. So just as we were doing, following in our trace lines, filling in our trace lines. And then our bats. Our bats are the only thing we're color mixing. And my black is not on my disc. So we're gonna make different bats. I've already got purple out. I want some bats here. I'm gonna trace one. And since we already bought a gray, we needed a black for the ghost faces. We're gonna use our gesso and our black to make a dark gray. But since my black is not on my table with me, we're actually gonna pivot and make like a cool purple gesso-y ghost. So I'm just grabbing the gesso I already have on here and throwing a little bit in my violet. So now we're seeing how much more opaque this gets with just a teeny bit of that white gesso. Comparatively. So if I put in the little ghost, start putting in my ghost with this. Baby ghost. It's a lot lighter, but we did the same thing on the first one. I just did this with black. I just took a little bit of black paint, just took a kiss of that white gesso and mixed it together because we don't need much, and then just filled in my bat. Let me pull this up so you can see. That's it. But for the sake of time, I want to answer any questions. I cannot fill them in. I have to finish them. Okay. And then these little baddies, they probably took about 2 layers because that gesso really did help with the opacity. But yeah, they definitely still need 2 layers to make them thick. Okay. Okay. So all I did was what we did, but with the black that I recommended on the list and just a kiss of gesso. So that's fun. And a little intro to color mixing. Of course, you could buy a dark gray, but everything else we were using was outdoor, and I thought it was fun to do a little gateway color mixing. Okay. So I'm going to immediately wash these brushes after. Hopefully I've ingrained that into y'all. Just wipe off your palettes with paper towel. That'll help you get the bulk of it off so it doesn't have to go into the waterways, and it's just makes life a lot easier to clean up with. But I would love to answer any questions. And before I do that, I want to say thank you so much for joining. I hope this was fun. You can totally do this. Just the first layer looks like, what? Because our paint is translucent, but that's why we layer. That's why we put gesso under things to get the effects we want. And I hope you have so much fun. I hope this spooks people in a good way. I have more Halloween classes the rest of October. We're doing more fun painting of spooky things. And I hope you join. I hope you had fun. If you did, please share. If you didn't, there's surveys. And if there's anything you want to see, these go live on YouTube, I believe, after the next business day. So you can find me on Probably Sketch on Instagram. And I'd love to answer any questions.
So far, we only have one question. Do you ever spray your board with water while painting?
Not with acrylic, no. No. I would recommend it for wood. Wood is porous, wood will warp. Plywood goes through a ton of processes, ton of manufacturing processes to make it this smooth and strong. Plywood is layered. It's not just a type of tree. It's smashed up, layered, laminated board. So I definitely wouldn't put wood on it, water on it, unless you want it to start bending. That's how the Eames, the famous furniture design couple, started bending plywood to get furniture in these different shapes. So I do not recommend it. Not with acrylic. Water and acrylic do not play well.
That seems to be it for now.
Awesome.
If anybody else has any questions, please leave them in the chat.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope everyone feels confident and ready to spookify their boards. And I'm really excited. And I think if there's nothing else, then I want to say thank you so much. Thanks to Carrie, our moderator. And I really appreciate y'all. Have a great night.